There's an orange door you haven't opened in 7 months. You drove past the facility this morning, on your way to do something else entirely. You didn't stop. You almost didn't think about it. But somewhere in the back of your head, a number just ticked by. Auto pay, pulled from your bank account at 2:14 a.m. on the 1st of the month. Same as it always does. You didn't authorize it. You didn't even look at it. A door on the far side of town, bolted shut with a padlock you bought at Home Depot, just charged you $42 more than it did a year ago. You will probably never compare. You will probably never even notice. That's not a complaint. That's the product. There's a reason this corner of the economy, the most boring, most generic, most forgettable business you've ever driven past, quietly returns gross margins north of 73% and net operating income margins approaching 78% on its best assets. There's a reason a row of identical orange doors can outperform entire shopping centers, entire office parks, entire hotels. There's a reason the companies that own them trade on the stock exchange at valuations that make seasoned investors raise an eyebrow. It is not because people love their storage units. It is not because the units are scarce. It is not because of anything you can see from the road. It is because of something happening inside the contract. So today, we're going to do something almost nobody has done on camera. We're going to walk through a self-storage lease, line by line, term by term, hidden clause by hidden clause, and we're going to figure out where the money actually comes from. And I will warn you now, by the end of this video, you will not be able to look at a facility off the highway the same way. You won't look at your own autopay the same way either. And once you see how this machine is wired, you will start seeing it everywhere. The lever that makes all of it work isn't really the unit. It's the customer who's tired of moving. Let's start with the layer everyone thinks they already understands. A self-storage facility is concrete and steel on a low-cost parcel at the edge of a metro area, usually tucked behind a Walmart or down the road from a new apartment complex. Cinder block walls, a corrugated roof, a keypad on the gate. Construction is simple. Property taxes are manageable, climate control is optional, and most units don't have it. The staff is tiny, sometimes a single manager, a couple of part-timers, a guy with a leaf blower. There are cameras, a pest control contract, some signs, and a website that prints money while everybody sleeps. If you stop there, at the lock, the floor, the rent, this would just be a property business. A landlord with garages. Nothing special. Nothing strange. So if it's really just lockers and a lease, why does the industry talk about pricing the way airlines do? To answer that, you have to look at the price tag. Because the price tag is where the model actually lives. Every storage facility you search online has two prices. Always. There's the price you see. The advertised one. Sometimes it's first month for $1. Sometimes it's 50% off. Sometimes it's pay only $19 today. Sometimes it's pay only $19 today, then one $29, then one $49, then one $79, then one $99, then $219. This is the web rate, and it has one job: to win the click, get you in the truck, get the key into your hand. It is not a number. It is a lure. It is the bait on a hook that took an entire industry hundreds of millions of dollars in software and pricing science to design. Then there's the price you pay. The street rate. The actual full monthly rent, what's quietly been loaded into the contract you've already signed. At a typical facility, the street rate runs roughly 50 to 55% higher than the teaser. So if you moved in at $99, your second month bill might be $149. Your 6th-month bill might be $179. You're already paying nearly double the price you thought you were paying. And the most remarkable thing is, you've probably never even bothered to compare. But here's the part most people don't know. Even that street rate isn't stable. Once you're in, the operator starts running a system on you called ECRI, Existing Customer Rate Increase. ECRI is a deliberate, scheduled, ongoing process of pushing your monthly rent up by somewhere between 5 and 15% every few months. The rate increase isn't accidental. It's not a cost of living adjustment. It's not inflation. It is a measured, tested, calibrated decision. And the people making it have access to your entire customer file. How long you've been there, whether you're on autopay, what you've stored, what your credit looked like when you signed up. They're trained not to lift the number so high that you'd actually move out. They're trained to lift it just enough that you still pay. They will sometimes skip a tenant who looks flighty. They will sometimes hit a tenant who looks locked in twice. The bump is sized in software by what your file says about you. If the company can charge one customer at $79 and another at $219 for the exact same steelbooks, with the exact same lock, in the exact same row, on the exact same Tuesday, why wouldn't it? So now the question is the obvious one. Why does anyone put up with this? This is where the model gets clever and where it starts to involve you. Moving a storage unit is a real chore. Not in theory, in practice. You have to rent a truck. You have to find a friend with a truck. You have to take a Saturday off. If you're storing a mattress, it doesn't fit through a regular doorway. If you're storing boxes, half of them you don't actually remember opening. Most stored goods are low value, awkward, and emotionally inert. They're the leftovers of a move. They're the belongings of someone you used to live with. They're the things you keep meaning to deal with and never quite do. The longer the unit sits there, the more that stuff decays into background noise. You forget what's in it. You almost forget it exists. The rate increase is sized to stay just below the threshold where you'd actually do that work. $5 this month. $10 next. Autopay ensures you never even register it as a decision. The fee just shows up, paid quietly on the second of the month. You don't even look at it. You have $146 a month going out the door before you get out of bed. This one barely makes the list. The more honest word for what the industry calls revenue management is behavioral lock-in. The operator is essentially renting your inertia. And your inertia is, in this market, the most valuable thing on the lot. But the storage company isn't done with you yet. While you're too tired to read your bill, they've been quietly selling you something else. Go back to the day you moved in. You were standing at the counter with your arms full of boxes, the truck idling in the lot, the clock running. The clerk slid a tablet across the counter. There was a lease with 8 pages of fine print, and a checkbox at the very end, right above the signature line. Would you like to protect your belongings with our tenant protection plan? $9 a month. Covers fire, flood, theft, vermin. It sounded reasonable. You checked the box. Most of you did. Most of you don't even remember. That's the line item we're talking about for that $9 a month. Sometimes it's 11. Sometimes 15. The storage company receives something like a 25 to 40% revenue share with the actual insurance provider behind the plan. So roughly $3 or $4 per customer per minute ONTH lands directly in the operator's pocket in addition to the rent itself. And here's the part that makes regulators uncomfortable and operators rich. In industry accounting, that money doesn't get booked as insurance premium. It's classified as additional rent, which means it skips insurance regulation entirely. It doesn't require a license to sell. It doesn't require a reserve. It doesn't require a claims department. It falls straight to net operating income. A fully occupied 500-unit facility with 70% enrollment is quietly adding several $100,000 a year to its top line from a line item almost no customer can quote you the price of, at virtually zero incremental cost. That is not the worst line item in the lease. Believe it or not, it's the friendliest case. Because there is a part of this business that doesn't just tolerate it when you stop paying. It profits from it. This is the part of the story most people have never heard, and it changes the moral weight of everything that came before it. When you stop paying your storage bill, the facility doesn't lose you. They begin a process. Stage 1 is a late fee, typically $20, automatically appended. Stage 2 is a courtesy notice mailed to the address on file, which by this point may not even be yours anymore. Stage 3 is a formal lien filing, which gives the operator legal claim to the contents of your unit. Stage 4 is an auction listing. Then, on a Saturday morning, your old furniture goes up for sale to the public. Online, often at a facility, sometimes curbside next to a U-Haul lot, sometimes in a windowless backroom with 7 other lots. The bids are usually tiny. Nobody wants a college futon, a tangle of Christmas lights, a boxed set of encyclopedias from 2004. They sell by the lot. They sell by the pallet. They sell by the look. And here is an industry secret you will rarely see printed. In many markets, the bidders at those auctions are sometimes the operators themselves, or working through proxies, bidding up each other's inventory to keep prices from collapsing entirely. The point isn't really to maximize auction revenue. The point is to clear the unit. The point is to recover the asset. The boxes, the mattress, the hand-me-down treadmill, these are the cost of doing business. The unit itself is what they want. Once the unit is cleared, the bill isn't over. You're still on the hook for the unpaid rent, the late fees, Lock cut charge, the labor to haul your things out, and the auction admin fee. Some of this gets sent to collections. Most of it doesn't. The math works without it. And then the unit, your old unit, freshly emptied, swept out, rekeyed, gets relisted. The price on the website reads $89. First month special. Your replacement customer is already typing their credit card into a form on the other side of the country. The cycle starts again. The customer who failed is, in a real economic sense, the cleanest customer of all. They moved in on a teaser. They paid full street rate for a while. They got pushed up through ECRI. They didn't move out. Eventually they stopped paying. And the building got their deposit, their late fees, their unit, and a fresh customer ready to do the exact same thing. So, if the operator profits from churn, from quit, from failure, what is the actual purpose of the building? The answer to that question is not on the income statement. It's on the balance sheet. Here's the part most people don't talk about when they explain storage REITs. The companies at the top of this industry, Public Storage, Extra Space, CubeSmart, are not, at their core, storage operators. They are land aggregators with a storage revenue stream attached. The operating income is real, but it isn't the prize. The operating income is the justification the company uses to buy more land. Industrial zone parcels near growing metros, near highway exits, near new apartment developments, near hospitals and universities and stadiums. Land that, 5 years later, is worth dramatically more than the building on top of it. The facility itself is a means of getting a mortgage on dirt and slowly turning tenant revenue into equity in a piece of ground. Operating revenue isn't the prize. Operating revenue is the engine that lets the company keep buying land. So now we can finally say what this business actually is. It looks like a real estate company. It looks like a landlord with garages. It really is a behavioral subscription business sitting on a real estate balance sheet. The building is the device that turns a stranger into a long tenancy customer. The lease is the device that turns that customer into a recurring revenue stream that almost never ends voluntarily. The lien process is the device that resets the customer when the stream finally breaks. And the land underneath is the device that turns the whole thing into decades of upside for shareholders. What you've been paying every month for years is not really rent for a box. It is a small subscription to a machine that was specifically designed to make you pay for as long as possible and then to recover cleanly when you stop. The industry has built an extraordinarily efficient machine for converting a one-time life event, a move, a breakup, a death, a deployment, a renovation, an eviction, an inheritance, into years of recurring revenue and several clean resets after that. And once you see that machine, you cannot unsee it. Because this is not the only business that runs on this template. Gym memberships run on this template. Telecom contracts run on this template. Subscription software runs on this template. Loyalty programs at airlines run on this template. The reason those numbers work isn't because the products are irresistible. It's because leaving is just expensive enough, financially, emotionally, logistically, that you almost never do. If you've ever paid a storage bill, you've been inside this machine. What does it look like now? Now go back to where we started. The same facility off the highway, the same gate code, the same key. You pull in, the keypad beeps, the door opens. The boxes are still there, but now you see different things. You see the rate on the lease and the teaser rate on the website and the widening gap between them. You see the bump last quarter, and the one before that, and the one that's quietly scheduled to arrive next month. You see the protection plan you barely remember checking, and the extra $2.50 a month it quietly sends upstairs to the income statement. You see the auction you didn't know about, scheduled for the day you're 90 days late. You see the sweep, the relock, the relisting, the next customer typing her card number into a form on her phone in a parking lot somewhere. You see the land underneath the concrete, and you notice that this facility sits on a parcel that 10 years ago was probably worth a third of what it is today. The unit is no longer a place where your stuff lives. It's a small, very precise machine, and you are the fuel. Next time you pay a recurring bill you barely think about, anywhere, from any company, ask one question. Not what does this cost, but what does this train me to do? That's where the real product is. That's where the real margin is. And if you want to keep pulling that kind of thread, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.